Look everybody, it's medical! Medical restricts anything water related. There's no pools, there's no hot tubs, Okay. I put the sinks here because I thought the higher level ones were off limits, but you can have sinks of any level. But most people tend to, most players that I know use the cheapest sink. Well, not that one, but... Well, actually they're both about the same, aren't they? Okay, this one's about $25. Simoleon's more, but, you know. I thought the higher level ones were off limits, but you can do the higher level ones if you so choose, but that ties into Life of Crime. But, no hot tubs, no swimming pools, no bathtubs, no showers. No messing around with the water tool. Make sure there's everything in sight. Okay, that's everything I can show. The one thing, there's three things I forgot that aren't displayed here. Number one is woohooing. You cannot woohoo. You always have to try for a baby. There's no... The only time you can woohoo is if two Sims of the same gender, so male and male or female and female, they can woohoo, that's fine. The only other thing would be I believe if the female is an elder or about to go elder, that's the only other time you can woohoo. I'm pretty sure that male elders would still have to try for a baby with adult females. The only other thing, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it is. No changing table. You cannot change diapers using the changing table. You have to throw them up in the air, flip them around, do a little twirl, and throw the diaper on the ground. And then put the diaper in the trash can. Gosh darn self. The only other thing I cannot actually really show here at this time would be you're not allowed to use medicine of any kind, which would be the various monster cures, like cure yourself of vampirism, and in future episodes, cure myself of witchhood, or cure myself of plant simism, or werewolfism, things like that. You can't use that. Moving right along, business! Business! Alright, you're not allowed to use the crafting tables at all. Period. No crafting at all. That science says you cannot use the flower arranging bench, and science says you cannot use the robot bench either. Or you can't even buy these. I mean, you can place them. You can at least place the toy building bench before business is lifted, but you can't really craft. So it's just, you know, taking up space that, you know, is better used for something else, like a bed. You cannot run your own business, and you cannot buy a community lot. And you cannot sell anything like the sell interaction. You cannot paint a painting and then sell the painting until business is lifted. You have to hang it on the wall or leave it on the art easel, which would be kind of a waste. Or you can't sell things off the workbench. You have to put it in your inventory or plop it on the ground and use it or something. You cannot sell it. The only other thing here would be I have the phone here representing you cannot use any service sims. You cannot plop this open and call a service sim. What does that do? Oh. You cannot call for maid, you cannot call a gardener, you cannot call a butler, you cannot call anybody to do work for you. No repairman, nothing like that. And you cannot call the headmaster to get your kids into private school. That's off limits as well. What's next? Athletes! Yay! Athletic! Alright, athletic. All this wonderful, wonderful gym equipment, off limits. The only way you can build your body skill, for any sim to build their body skill, is working out to the radio. That's the only way to do it before anything else is lifted. So, yeah. That's going to be fun. Also, you cannot move items that are larger than 1 square. What does that mean? I can move this around. That's fine and dandy. I cannot move the treadmill around because it takes up 3 slots. I cannot move the dance sphere around because it takes up 9 squares. It has to only take up 1 square. Anything larger you cannot move around. Once it's put down, it stays there. You know what else I forgot about business? I gotta go back to business. Business also restricts selling anything. You cannot sell anything at all using the buy or the build mode tools. You cannot do that. I forgot that. Moving right along, back to athlete. Tying in with business, if in athlete mode you cannot since you cannot move anything, you can't sell it either. Nope, it's got to go right back. You cannot do that. That is off limits. What else? If you have 2 Sims and they're in very close relations, you cannot have either one leap into each other's arm. That's off limits. I broke that rule one time. It was kind of funny. Inventory-wise, you're only allowed to have 3 items in your inventory, which means anything beyond 3 has to be immediately placed on the lot. Which means this bowling alley and this DJ booth, they would have to go out. Of my choice. I mean, there's a little bit of freedom there. I mean, it doesn't say you have to put everything down beyond number 3. No, you have to make sure that as long as you have only 3 items in your inventory, you're good. That's fine and dandy. That's cool. You cannot put more than 3 items in a Sim's inventory, though. That's also off limits. Next up, this is Life of Crime. Now, the number one thing about Life of Crime that is always, well, there's 2 things that are always the same, no matter what. Number 1, you can only have 1 crafted item on the lot, period. Which means if you have a robot bench, a toy maker bench, or the flower arrangement bench, you can only have 1 item from... Well, that... Let me think about that. You're only allowed to have 1 crafted item. That's all it says. So you can either have... You can only have... I don't know whether it means you can have 1 from each bench, or just 1 period. I'm just going to go with the route that you can only have 1 period. So if you want to have, say, a hydrobot running around watering your plants, that's all you can have on the lot. You can't have snapdragons, you can't have a jack-in-the-box, you can't have the little octopus water sprayer thing. No, you can only have one thing there. That might be verification. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The other important thing with Life of Crime is... Oh, there's one other thing that's very important too. While Life of Crime is in motion, every Tuesday... Or is it Monday? Every 7 days, every week that goes by, you get to replace your fridge for free, so to speak. You can sell your fridge and replace it. Why? That kind of plays in with culinary and nat science. Nat science says... I forgot that one thing from nat science. Nat science says you cannot have any groceries at all. You cannot buy groceries. I also forgot with nat science you cannot have a wedding arc. So if you want those wonderful videos for the Sims getting married or maybe even rejected, you can't watch those. You can't have a wedding arc. Also, you cannot have a chef's salad. You cannot prepare chef's salad. But Life of Crime, because of you can't buy groceries, how are you going to replace the food in the fridge if you can't sell the fridge because buy mode says, nope, you can't sell? What do? I'm going to have a whole lot full of refrigerators. Nope. Life of Crime says you can replace your refrigerator once a week. Now from here things get tricky because there's so many different ways how to handle this. I only saw the two on the rules that I looked at. Method A, which is the one I will be going with, if an item costs more than 100 simoleons, you have to replace it every week. After every week goes by, after a week goes by, you gotta go in buy mode, sell everything off, and then rebuy everything. And if it's something restricted by athletes, like it was like the bed, you have to put the bed right back exactly where it was, unless of course you have paranormal lifted, in which case you don't have to worry about touching beds, in which case you might have to replace the couch, and you have to put the couch back in exactly the same area. See how things kind of get complicated here? Life of crime is so complicated. But if it's 100 simoleons or less, you don't have to worry about rebuying it. The main reason for that is Life of Crime tries to make it so your house has very low value items which tend to give you less good stuff. Which means, just to demonstrate, as you can see I got the cheapest chair here. And obviously it gives you only 4 comfort. Well, what's to stop me from getting the most expensive chair that gives me 9 comfort and improves my environment? Well, every week you're going to have to sell that off and then buy it again. And because things depreciate over time, that means you're going to be throwing more money out the window and stuff like that. Which I guess is okay with certain individuals because, hey, you always have like a bajillion million dollars in the bank. Simoleons! You got so much. I guess that's fine later down the line, but you also have to factor in, unless you got business lifted, and politics maybe too, you're gonna have very narrow amount of, you're gonna have a very small space to work around in. So do you really, you can't just keep replacing everything with better and better. Once you got all the money, you gotta factor in the fact that you have so much little space. But in any case, method A, anything above $100, you gotta sell it, and then you gotta rebuy it. I like that rule because it's very simple. Now there's another method where you start with a certain amount of money, amount of payment. I can't remember if it was 1,000 simoleons or something like that. But after the first week, you got to pay 1,000 simoleons, and then the next week you got to pay 1,500, and then the next. Well, actually, it's kind of based on how many sims are in the house, I believe. And basically, what happens is you start off with like a small amount, do like I said, 1,000 simoleons a week, and then it stacks up. Week after week after week, it keeps getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and then you probably get redonkulous amounts. So it's complicated, and I don't really remember how it goes. I just know that was method B, and it was money over time. I'm not going to go that way because it's too much math, and I really don't want to use any mods that will take away money from the bank accounts and stuff like that, because quite frankly, that gets ridiculous. Moving on to something less complicated.